What is up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to give you 10 quick tips to become a better woodworker. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm glad you're here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Vaught, and over the last several years, I've built and sold a woodworking business that was doing over $70,000 per month with my team of 7 employees. We scaled to a shop of 6,600 square feet. We had a showroom. We had multiple things going for us and sold that business at the beginning of this year. And I want to give you 10 quick tips to help you become a better woodworker. All right, number one, first thing that you can start doing is start improving your lumber selection. This is going to be huge. Now, if you're just going and grabbing lumber off of a rack at Home Depot or Lowe's, you're not really looking at it. You're going to get back to the house, back to the garage, back to the shop. You're not going to be happy with that lumber. Now, then the next step is to quit buying lumber from Lowe's and Home Depot, but then to start actually buying your lumber from a mill. Moving from construction grade lumber into actual high quality hardwood lumber, okay? So number one is improving your lumber selection. Number two is maintaining your tools. I see too many guys, and I've been there too, where I was that guy where I just ran tools into the ground, didn't maintain them, did not take care of them. And what happens is that is an asset to your business and it becomes a liability because now you're bottlenecked in your ability to produce because your tools are breaking down, your blades are dull, and it also becomes a safety hazard. So that's just a quick, easy tip. Make sure you're maintaining your tools. One great way to do this is just to set a reminder every 30 days, 60 days, just to look over your tools, make sure that they are functioning as they should be, and to plan some maintenance for those. Number three is to master the basics of milling. And what are we talking about? We're talking about getting your board square before you start building. So if you're getting raw lumber from a mill, there's no straight edge on it. It's not been planed. It's not coming with the top and the bottom plane and the side straight edge. Well, then you got to do all the milling. And so you need to master the basics. You need to make sure that you have a joiner that is square, that you can get a good straight edge on. You want to make sure that you have a planer. And so you start with the edge on the joiner, get a good straight edge, put it in a planer and plane one side of it. Then you want to put your straight edge up against the table saw, rip the blade down the other side to make sure that you have 2 perfectly parallel lines on your board, and then you want to flip that board over and plane the unplaned side so that you have a perfectly square board, because it's going to make a huge difference in the quality of your builds. If you're starting your builds and your lumber isn't square, it's going to throw everything off, okay? So that's huge, especially for beginners, okay? So number 4, this one's so important. Maintain a healthy fear of your tools. This is one thing that I always constantly preach to my team as I would get new employees, is that you need to be afraid of this stuff. Your tools can rip your fingers off and your hands off in seconds. And if you are casual about your relationship with saws and routers, it just doesn't end well. The reason I still have all 10 of my digits is because I had a very healthy fear of tools and blades spinning at thousands of rotations per minute. Okay, so make sure that you are careful, that you maintain safety. It's huge. You do not want to be a woodworker like this guy or this guy or this guy. That is not what you want if you're going to be a woodworker. Be safe out there, be smart, okay? Number 5 is use enough glue on all of your joints. I see some guys, they use so much glue that it creates an absolute mess. Some guys don't use enough glue and their joints start breaking down later over time. You just don't want that. Glue it and screw it. Make sure that you have glue on every joint and make sure that you're driving a screw in every joint. Okay, number 6, keep sharp chisels in your shop. Chisels weren't one of our primary tools that we used. We didn't build furniture with chisels, but it's so nice to have good sharp chisels in case that you have a glue spot that you need to get off, in case you have something that you need to clean up on your product. A really good sharp chisel is a game changer, and you don't want to use them to start digging nails out, opening up paint cans, doing those sorts of things. You want to keep your chisels like designated for actual woodwork. Here you go. Number 7, use a quick drying finish. This is huge. A lot of guys really struggle with improving the quality of their finish, and it's because they're using a polyurethane or something that's slow drying. And what happens, they don't have a lot of space. So the space that they're doing all the work in is also the space that they're doing their finishing in. And when you have a slow drying finish, what happens is all this dust that you've stirred up is still in the air, even if it's hours later, and then you've applied a finish, and that dust is slowly coming down and landing in your finish. The beauty of a quick drying finish is you're still in that same environment. There's still gonna be dust in the air, but if it's drying within 20 to 30 minutes, it's really preventing that dust from settling on your finish, and you're gonna get a higher quality finish. So one of the things that we always recommend that we started using was a lacquer finish that we sprayed with a spray gun. So spraying through an airless or an HVLP sprayer is gonna be huge, spraying lacquer that's quick drying. Now, the fumes are pretty rough. I'll be honest with you, the fumes are pretty rough. There are products out there that you can find that have low fumes, and that'll be huge. It's not necessarily going to be more durable, but it's just going to be higher quality. You're not going to have bubbles and dust and problems with the finish, okay? So pick picking up and using a quick drying finish. Number 8, this one is huge. This is probably one of the biggest ones that a lot of you guys are still struggling with. We struggled with it for a long time, and that is to eliminate swirl marks with your sander. A lot of you guys and a lot of my guys that I would try to train and bring on as employees for my business, man, we would just always have swirl marks in the finish. And the problem with swirl marks is you sometimes can't really see them until you apply your stain, right? Or you apply your finish to the product. How do you prevent swirl marks? Number 1 is make sure that you're not making huge grit jumps with your sanding. Some guys go from 60 to 100 to 150. That's too big. What we typically did was we would start with 80. I never really would start with anything under 80. And we had 2 different types of sanders. So we had a gear-driven sander, and then we had our random orbital sanders that we would use. Our gear-driven sanders is like a Bosch sander or like a Rotex 150 Festool. Those are your gear-driven sanders. So we would take a pencil, lay it on its edge, and scribe our entire product, okay? We'd go over it with 80 grit with a gear-driven sander. We'd scribe it again. We'd go over it in gear-driven mode with 120 grit. So we went from 80 to 120, and then we would go over and make sure that we took all the pencil marks off. Another tip is don't turn your sanders on their edges. Keep them flat. Don't let your sander just sit in one spot. Keep your sandpaper clean. So if you get glue buildup in your sandpaper, that can cause scratches, okay? So try to make sure that you have all the glue scraped off before you just start sanding. Get a hand plane and hand plane all of your seams to make sure that you knock all the glue off before you start sanding. So we'd go 80, then 120, both of those with gear driven, scribed with a pencil, and then we would scribe it again, and we would go 120 with a random orbital sander, okay? And that eliminated a lot of the swirl marks. Now, some woods are gonna be much more prone to swirl marks than others, so you gotta go slow. Sanding is the one thing that just takes time. But make sure you're scribing between each time. Keep your sandpaper clean. Don't just hover in one spot too long. You wanna constantly be moving, and you don't wanna put your sander up on its edge at all, okay? These are some quick tips around that. Number 9 is tighten up your quality control. You need to be looking over every single component of your product before it's getting in the customer's hands or you're listing it for sale. It's so important to just have an eye for detail. Most of you guys have this eye for detail already, but I think we can all get better, and tightening up your quality control of your final product is going to be huge, and teaching any employees or anybody that you have helping you is going to be really important, okay? And then lastly, and y'all are going to laugh at this one, but learn how to talk to people. Most woodworkers are woodworkers because they do not want to talk to people, but if you want to make any money, if you want to have any type of business or even a side income from your woodworking hobby, learning to talk to people is going to be huge, okay? So just to recap, improve your lumber selection, maintain your tools, master the basics of milling, maintain a healthy fear, use enough glue, keep your chisels sharp and keep them designated for woodworking, use a quick drying finish, eliminate your swirl marks, tighten up quality control, and learn to talk to people. So 10 quick tips. This is the channel to help you grow your woodworking business. This is the channel to help you grow your woodworking skills. If you are trying to make some side income from your woodworking skills, or make this a legitimate business, or scale your business that is already established into where you're growing into a commercial space, you're hiring employees, you're doing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per month, this is the place to hang out. We've got lots of resources for you. Number 1 is we got a free ebook, the Handmade Business Secrets ebook, that's completely free to you. You just click on the link in our description below. It's the very first link. Just put your name, your email. We'll send that to you completely free. And that's really my story of how I got started and some of the principles that helped me get to $70,000 per month in my woodworking business. And also a lot of our clients that we help in the Woodworking Business Accelerator program, which was my next pitch to you, which is the Woodworking Business Accelerator program. If you're trying to grow and you're legitimately serious about it, this is the number 1 tool that I can offer you. We have clients all over North America right now that are scaling and growing. There is no reason for you not to be the next one. Also, we're getting ready to go into Q4, which is traditionally the hottest time of the year to be selling custom furniture, to really see a skyrocket in sales for a lot of our clients and also for my business in the past. So with that being said, guys, I love you. If this was helpful to you, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.